Good evening, fellow Zimbabweans. I am Blessed Geza, known to many as Bombs. I'm joined by fellow colleagues who will address you. However, since our address last week, the leadership crisis in our country has been laid bare. Things have deteriorated economically, morally, and legally. And we therefore believe it will be unjust, unfair, and irresponsible on our part to remain silent or not to act. It is important for us to chart a course of action which will redeem us a nation and restore our future. Let me, from the onset, make a few things very clear. I'm a Zanu PF Central Committee member. Hakuna anondidzinga kutamba. A war veteran and former member of parliament. We accept this country with distinction. As I speak, I represent fellow Zimbabweans with Zanu PF members, disgruntled but afraid to speak. And there are many of them, members of the security forces who sacrificed their lives for Operation Restore Legacy. That has yielded nothing for their families. And I also speak for the poor and forgotten, whose dreams and hopes have been crushed by a clueless and hopeless government of corrupt and greedy individuals led by Emerson Mnangagwa and his children. Yes, his children will have become de facto prime ministers in this country. It's not a secret. I wish to firstly apologize to all of you for being one of the people who worked hard and invested a lot of personal resources to oust the former President Robert Mugabe, the late, from power and usher in Mnangagwa into office. I am deeply sorry, and with hindsight now, I regret this. We replaced Mugabe with a monster, a korokoza. It is us who gave you Mnangagwa. We put you in State House with the hope that you would reset our country on a path of recovery, respect the Constitution, and give our people hope. As soon as he had the taste of power, he escalated corruption, forgot the people, and remembered only his family. Mnangagwa has also surrendered state power to his wife and children. We are sadly seeing history repeating itself. We can't allow that to happen. Why now, some people would ask? Why not now? We as war veterans are trained, disciplined soldiers. Even when we are unhappy, we are not quick to take action. We follow the line of command. We engage with the hope of solving matters without bringing shame to our leaders. I assure you, we have tried this, but we have come to a conclusion that it's not possible to bring desired change from within a Zanu PF, which has lost all values and principles, is encompassed by our wartime mantra, Gutsa Rushinji. Not Gutsa Mnangagwa nembava dzake. Many in Zanu PF today are chancers, looters, and with no moral canvas or compassion. Ask yourself honestly today, who owns the most mines in the country? Who has the biggest houses today? Who has the top jobs? Who are our ministers today? Imbava idzodzi. Kuvedu vana vaishaitawo chii. We fought for a Zimbabwe where everyone would have a seat on the table. Not for these chiefs we now call Mbinga or Vigananda. Men died as we fought, the former colonial oppressors. Our people died. Our colleagues died and lie in unmarked graves. All these who are dead had hope for a prosperous Zimbabwe. That dream they had has been lost because of a few thieves clothing themselves with borrowed robes of power. We the people of Zimbabwe are the owners of those robes, and we are here to take them back. This past week, one of the West finance ministers, a Laos beggar of note, Mutulu Ngwe, announced silly measures which he said were aimed to bring formalization of the economy. One of his ideas was to give vendors POS machines on the roadside. The other was to cut supplies to vendors from manufacturers. These measures have nothing to do with fixing the economy, but at enriching Mnangagwa and his chiefs. As we speak, one of the crooks already is a tender to supply the POS machines. Another will be the middleman. He has already taken clearance and will be buying from the manufacturers, then inflate the prices before selling to vendors. These measures will do nothing but make life harder for the ordinary Zimbabweans. It looks like ED has established a ministry of pain and suffering for the majority in his office. Vanhu vakavhoterwa shuwa havarari vachifunga kuti toita sei kuti tiomesere masi. Because there are no jobs. People are working as vendors to feed their families. Mutuli, who through his failed Barbican bank, is back again to make us suffer. No. This cannot be allowed to happen. Civil servants are now civil slaves, working for peanuts, day in and day out. What kind of reward system do we have that does not recognize skill, education, and work delivery? Everyone in government except my chef earns $200. What kind of witchcraft is that? In all this madness, the son of Mnangagwa, a mere soldier, drives to work in a Rolls Royce. How does this make other soldiers feel? Even the army generals, a dedicated man in uniform, can't afford that car. Where is that money coming from? It's being looted from our national coffers, resource bank. Mnangagwa must stop behaving like a kindergarten in a kid store. We invite him to take stock of his mental faculties and that of his ministers before it's too late. Imagine, how do you keep a minister in office after she openly insults your vice president? Tatenda Mavetera, whose only qualification to that job is not having any qualification, in the audacity to call General Chiwenga a decorated war hero, Mpanduki, right? And an acting president in that matter. We are in shock that this can happen. We have Daniel Garwe, a person who is on mental health medication, a former salute scout in the Rhodesian army, who shot at us. We fought to liberate us from colonial rule, but now a minister. And once again, fighting from the wrong side of history. Let me make it clear. We as war veterans in the general public of Zimbabwe, our Pope, we have the right to remove Mnangagwa from office because it is us who took him to State House. Who does not know that Mnangagwa fled this country with just his son and his cousin? Tonzwa vanhu vachiimba vachiti garwe raiombera richitukwa chii muchiimba rikapedza rava muofisi. Imbai muchiti garwe raiombera rikapedza ratiza. Tisu takaridzosa. Asikazivi kuti angatiza ndiani. Where were you, Garwe, when the men you seek to defend was border jumping? Were you not at Zanu PF headquarters singing and dancing while he was being insulted? Now you want to behave as a brave man, calling us Isu, takarwira nyika ino, anaboki. Bullshit. That's bullshit. Inwa mapirisi ako ekupenga wakanyarara. Kana wasisina mapirisi ako ekupenga kumbira una Mnangagwa akutengere. Pengera kwa wakaroiwa. Sadly, Mnangagwa, you allow this nonsense to happen. You allow Maletera to insult an acting president at national events, insulting in general. How dare? This shows that Mnangagwa, you are behind this disrespectful acts. It's clear you are on a frolic of your own. We are going there while living our values and ethos. Zimbabweans, it's within our power to stop this nonsense. Mnangagwa has gone rogue and go he must. We invited him to go peacefully, but instead he is digging in and continues to push the unconstitutional agenda of 2030. The only 2030 you will see is 8:30 on the clock. Just yesterday, we saw images of drunk youths, some of them who failed to attend a decent education because of poor governance under Mnangagwa, singing and toy-toying to 2030 slogans. They were led by one disgraced lawyer, Goodwill Masimure, a non-land baron. Masimure, toda uziva kuti wakadzingwa nelaw society, wakadzingirwa chii? Corruption. Your practicing license was cancelled because waidya mari the trust account my clients, and you have no room in Zanu PF. Yatinoziva is not yenye chitsotsi. Just look at the car money Mnangagwa keeps. Surely it reflects on the man. He is. Once we free Zimbabwe, we will ensure these kids have access to education and good jobs so that they can afford themselves and their children a better future. Poverty delays democracy. It's time we eradicate it. Some have insisted that we have masters. Bullshit. The insinuation is that we have been sent by Vice President Chiwenga to do this. Nothing can be further from the truth. The fact that we stand for war against corruption, nepotism, and misgovernance. For your information, I don't know when I last met General Chiwenga, I don't have even his contact numbers, right? Saka mnofuka kuti hatifumi. You think more veterans are having no tumor, right? Those are not having to go to an opposition. Ye Murutumana British, Murutumana Americans. Saga, you think Zimbabweans can't think. Ngazi Perezos. We have been sent by the same people who sent us to the liberation struggle in the 70s, our povo. We speak for them once again, and possibly the last time. We are ashamed that our people can begin to say 45 years after independence that Smith was better. We can't allow a few people to rubbish our contribution to the freedom of this country as they behave like the minister were removed from power. We can't allow black-skinned colonial masters to ruin the future of the majority. This is why the number of people who are joining our cause is growing by the day. With the backing of the majority of Zimbabweans, excluding Matsotsi. Those in the diaspora are with us. We know the diasporians, you love your country. You want to come back and contribute to your country's future. We will redeem ourselves before we die. We will free this country once again so that you can stop being economic slaves in lands that don't treat you well. We want to build a country where everyone matters, where our resources benefit not the few but the majority. A nation where the means everyone, not just a few corrupt individuals. To all those who think we are afraid, those who think they can silence us, please read my lips in case you miss my words. Look at my face. Do you see any fear? Do you think you can scare us? Bullshit. Some have been holding meetings to inject us from Zanu PF. You think you can fire us from our party, which we brought with our own blood? Where were you? You were busy salute scouting, right? Killing our comrades, killing our masses, right? This Zanu PF is ours. It is you who will be leaving the party in the next few weeks. Mark my words. Watch this space. I want to tell you this, here and now. We don't care. We are ready to face you head on. What we want to build is a nation where our entrepreneurs like Wanasra Masiwa and others feel free and happy to be home. A nation where political players are not exiled and not being rendered stateless by individuals. We have captured the justice system for their own ends. We want a judicial system that is not held hostage but serves as the defender of the poor and weak against a predatory state. Everyone, Zimbabwean, is needed to build this nation. Only a united people can restore this Zimbabwe. The power is ours. My last statement is to say, Mnangagwa, you have failed this nation. You have failed us. And you have succeeded to put your family on the fore as one of the worst, the most hated in the history of the world. You can redeem yourself by doing the right thing. Step down. Free this country from incompetence. You lack your lack of probity has preceded you. Ndiri kutaurira comrade, imwimwi vana vake nemudzimai, taurirai baba kuti zvakwana. Nyika haina kumira mushe, musafurirana zvenhema muchifurirwa namatsotsi. Zimbabwe is just time for action. Let's act now. We are the new 2030. I thank you. Right. Tapa address in English. Unfortunately, isindebele ngiyakhuluma mbijana. But I know some will laugh at my isindebele, so I would rather nditaura neshona. Ndoziva kuti munokwanisa kutsama kuti mandevere ese anoziva shona, but ndoziva kuti mandevere akangwara anoziva malanguage akawanda, saka tanga tine umwe anoziva chindevere panapa angade ataurawo nechindevere, but takutaura nechindevere, I mean neshona. Ini ndonzi Blessed Geza kana kuti comrade Bombshell. Ndiri muwo veteran murweri sununguko. Takataura nemwi mazuva mashoma apfuurayo tichitaura nenyaya imwe chete yatinayo nhasi. Tichabata zvishoma mururimi rweshona, but chandiri kuda kusimbisa ndechekuti chirongwa ichi chiri kuchitumwa nouzhinji rwevanhu vemuZimbabwe, zvisinei nekuti uyu murudzii, muKaradhe here, muIndia here, muNdevere here, muSuthu here. Vana veZimbabwe vane chisungo chimwe chekuti macomrades, zvakwana, munhu uyu makatipa munhu uyu, tikati tamupuwa nemwi, tikabvuma isipovhu yeZimbabwe, but aiwa tayaura tibvisirei munhu uyu. You can say what you want, you 2030 is bullshit to you. Ambudi chiidzirisu. This is our game. Muri kuenda mese. Nyaya iripo ndeyekuti mauda kumuita mbinga muchiti zvanzizvo aitukwa achiombera but makazomuona chimbo chiri kuimbwa neuyu mumwe anonzani uyu, zvanzani ane mukadzi mbavha uyu, right? Ziva kuba kwemukadzi wako iwe. Uri kuwa stop talking about my veterans, right? Isu tiri kutaura takamirira zvido zvevanhu veZimbabwe. 90% yevanhu veZimbabwe, right? Vanhu vendudzi dzakasiyana siyana, vemareligion akasiyana siyana, right? Vakavhotera materm limits ari muconstitution yedu. Ndo zvido zvavanhu veZimbabwe. Imwimwi you want to violate that because muri kubenefita vanhu vachisafa. Munotaura kuti munhu ari kugona chii vanhu vachimwa sewage, mvura yemusuweji. Mashops ari kuvhara ese, hamusi kuzviona kuti vana Richards vari kuvhara, vana OK vari kuvhara, right? Vana Pick and Pay vari kuvhara. Ndo kugona ikoko kuisa maservice station mumasabha munogara vanhu. Munoziva the day kana akaexplode imo muchii chinoitika kuvanhu. Noda kwemakaro ekuti vanoda kuramba vachikama foreign currency variwoga makaro akaita seiwapo pauri kuisa paservice stations iwawo kana ema vanomboiconsulta because vari kuita zvavaroda muno munyika muno sanani. We can't allow that. Mabatano atakaita muri yeZimbabwe isu semacomrades hatina kufara nemaitirwo akaitwa paunity yeZapu neZanu. Zapu was short-changed paya chitsotsi chega chega paya chakaitwa. That's why muchiona even leadership yacho yeZapu pamavictims eguku rahundi, right? Vanhu kumatebheleni vari kungobhatwa yeitaita chikomishini chakati yeita zvoona machifi machifi acho ozokupa zvimota kupuwa zvimabhuraibhi onyarara. Toda kuti nyaya yeguku rahundi iite come to an end. Kana mavictims achikombatsedwa ngaakombatsedwa. Kana uchikupirwa ruregerero ngaakupirwe ruregerero. People must come out clean. We know people who were behind guku rahundi. Povo yematebhelendi haina kupusa inoziva vanhu who were behind guku rahundi. Saka that needs to be addressed. Asi uri kuona kuti machef eformer Zapu, ari muZanu PF unity imomo, they are doing nothing about that. Because vari kutodzvanyirirwawo ende vava kudya vachiguta vachida basa nazvo. Right? Maproperties evana vavana hamunyari here vakomana, hamunyari. Vana vakaenda kuhondo vakakuisira independence, boys and girls from Zipura, right? Vakatora tubaritawo tushomanana itotu vakatiisa pamwe chete vakatengawo maproperties avo. Munovatorera maproperties avo. Vana ava vari kushupika, right? And the leadership yeZapu iri muunity accord is doing nothing about it because it has been compromised. We want those properties back kuvana ivavo, right? Makuti heya maproperties anga ari eZapu, bullshit. Maproperties ese ndeeformer Zipura. Zvamakuda kuti aya anga ari eZapu, kana eZapu acho ngaadzoke kumaZipura because ndivo vakabvisa mari iyoyo. Musada kunyepa. Touya panyaya yakaitwa iya government of national unity. Changu vachitsotsi chega chega. I don't know why matsotsi eZanu PF achifunga kuti ane monopoly yenyika inoyi. Changu vachitsotsi chega chega. Isusu when we fought, handiti takarwira munhu wese for equal opportunities, but chitsotsi ichi ene vaimbotochiitira mamembers ese eZanu PF, right? But mamembers eZanu PF acho futi they are suffering. Vakaita varogona nderokuombera. Kuombera nezvinoti haidzi vana bhoki vaiombera. Kana tazodzinga vanagarwe mai tavapfekedza masaga vari vachiombera futi. Tavakuvaziva izvi. There are people with no principles. Saka we don't take them serious at all. Saka zvatiri kuda, right? Patakabvisa Mugabe, handidi ndoda kuti tiite this very clear, right? Other parties, right, played a pivotal role, right? You see? Vanatsvangirai, vanachamisa, vanabiti, vese vanamodzora, vanamuzuri and others, vandasiya. Takaita chirongwa ichi takabatana semaZimbabweans. Tikabvumira kuti this is the only route, right? Our country can move forward, right? Upenyu hwevanhu vedu we have suffered for so long, right? Takabvumirana nawo isusu semacomrades, right? But takazoona vamwe vanhu vakuuya vakuti chinhu chedu isi macomrades taipusha kuti ngati shandei pamwe chete navamwe vakatibetsera. Zanu PF never participated, don't be lied at. Zanu PF as a party ndo yatisverera isu. They never participated, mukubvisa Mugabe. It was the opposition and other players. Vakabatana nemagallant fighters avo isu veterans. That's not a secret, right? But isu vacho takarasiswa. Avo vatakati navo mufight yacho vakarasiswa. Saka matsotsi vanhu. But we are saying now, we will never allow this to happen again. We will never allow this to happen again. Because zvabuda pachena kuti Zanu PF ine vanhu vasina maprinciples, vanhu vokuombera. Kana even zvinhu zvakaipa havakwanisi kudzorana, vanongoombera, vachingoombera. Saka we are saying kune maplayers amwe ese kune povho yedu tinoda Zimbabwe ine vanhu vakabatana, and toda kuzviona kuti zvaitika tomuvha tiri pamwe chete, tovaka nyika yedu, tobvisa matambudziko ekushupika munyika medu, tomeka sure kuti even zvakataura kudhara zviyazvi. Can you imagine ena vanasave masiwa, right? Neupfumi hwake hwese huyawo ari muno. Tine example yana Mbada Diamonds, right? Mbada Diamonds was giving to government 25 million US every month. But noda yekuti manga mune macomrades mukati, right? Mbada Diamonds yakavharwa zvechitsotsi, vakaitora zvechitsotsi, right? Saka ma-investors tinawo muno, tine vedu muno ma-investors. And we don't need ma-investors vekunze ngavauye, but we must also promote internal investment, Vanamuhlanga vese vaya, right? Nevamwe vakawanda. Vanamutumwa mawere aminoza makavaita ikoko mukavatorera maproperties avo, right? Vanasave machiwa vakumutya kwavo. Imwi vana Jonathan Moyo nakasikuwere dzokai kana paine maproblems atinawo, right? Dzokai musashuva musha wenyu, dzokai. We want vanhu vese vakavictimizwa kuti vadzoke vacontribute kufuture yenyika yavo, noti kuramba muri vanhu vedu vari marefugee kune dzimwe nyika. We don't want. Vana Muzembe mese dzokai. You see? Uyu munhu uyu akashandisa vanhu kucholoto akavaramba vana Jonathan, right? He is a user. Ini ndiri kutaura kuti this time maZimbabweans toda kubatana. Isu mawo veterans hatina kunorwira tribe kana region, takarwira nyika yose. tanga takabatana kuhondo tanga tikabudovhunzana muchamani uri unobva kupiwe unoera mutupo upi we were one ende atikadya tichienda kuhondo zvinonzi vaira save indai makadai vaira mhofu indai makadai vana mukanya indai makadai no tanga takabatana saka spiriti yatanga tiinayo iyo tiinayo namanje ndosaka maiona povhu yedu yaitisapota because yaiona spiriti yatanga tiinayo kubatana ikati bida yatisapote vana ava they are fighting for a genuine cause but iye manje nyika yaijekwa namatsotsi torega nyika ichienda kumatsotsi you can call us names we don't care hatina kana basa naizvozvo but chokwadi chiripo nichokuti muri kuenda muchida musingadi right chokupedzisira tiri kuti hapana munhu anotituma ndataura vamwe vanhu vanoti tiri zvibhoki ye wati iwe mupana iwewe ka iwe mupana iwe zvibate iwe mupengo kwamurehwa iwe zvibate wautapira unonyudza we are warning you seriously yeah bvunza vamwe vako vaifarisa kuti vakazowanikwa vakapfeka masaga tokupfekedza saga manje ramba uchipaparika uchidaro unotaura kuti tiri mabhoki isusu iwewe pakati maiwewe chimbwa mupengo iwe bullshit isu hapana munhu anotituma siyai general chiwenga alone hanimbotozivi kuti general chiwenga vanogara kupi handina kana nhamba dzageneral chiwenga havana kana nhamba but kana muchituka shefu wedu mashefu edu aya munovatukira chii tivapa takanyarira shefu edu achitukwa nematsotsi muchichipisa revolution muchichipisa povhu yezimbabwe muchichipisa constitution yakaiswa nemhuri yezimbabwe 90% endichiiswa nemhuri yezimbabwe vawana mukana wokuisayo nekuda kweropa rakateurwa nevana vakasacrifice kurira nyika ino kuti muve nefreedom of expression ndosaka pakaiswa constitution iyoyo which we are now attacking that will not accept ndatenda right macommanders nemakomunidzi vari pano kungaita zvandinge tasirirawo kana pane vanoda kuwedzera mukana ndiwo uno anokwanisa kutaura neEnglish kana imwe language ndebele Shona Nyanja kana any language yamunogona motaura kuti povhu yeZimbabwe inyatsonzwa yonzwa takamirira. Over to you, comrades.
The nation of Zimbabwe, you have heard it all from none other than Comrade Bombshell. The word is very, very clear. The warning is very, very clear. To you, Mnangagwa, and the company, and your company, this is the last dance before sunset. The time is up, and we have heard everything. Where you have criminals, psychotic scout killers like Garg, Daniel Garg, who murdered Zimbabweans searching for freedom can have the audacity and the temerity to stand before this nation and calling war veterans, liberators and freedom fighters, dogs. That is not only regrettable, but it is the saddest day in our history. Giving him such an opportunity to vomit his venom, despising war veterans, is the greatest indictment on the current regime. Daniel Garwe, you are an opportunist. At one point, you actually stood as an independent in Imreo. And what actually made you to decide to come to the mainstream party, nobody knows. You are driven by self-ego and ambition. This is why your opportunism is driving you crazy. That is I'm short of words of describing you. You are just useless. The country doesn't need you. And we have another brigade of comfort women. These concubines who were catapulted into the cabinet and the other senior government positions, not because of their brains, but more to do with their buttocks, more of buttocks than brains. And these are the people who are teasing war veterans. These are the people who think they know everything. These are apprentices, novices, amateurs, neophytes in political engineering. They know nothing, and they are still to learn the ropes of politics. So we don't need all these fools, because what we are witnessing right now in the party Zanu PF, idiocy and foolishness has run amok. It has run amok because no one can sit down and sensibly counsel other members to behave accordingly. One wonders what the Kitepo College of Ideology is doing. When we have such rogue elements who are very polarizing, Zimbabwe is already a polarized country. And it needs a leadership which can bring national unity and cohesion so that we chart the way forward. Now we have a polarizing administration under Idi Mnangagwa. And this is typical of all nationalist politicians. Their politics was based on identity politics. One identifies himself with the tribe, with the region where they come from, in order to generate power. This started well before independence. It happened because of these national politicians. It was not practiced by war veterans. They knew they were only Zimbabweans, and they never bothered to know where one came from. But the politicians at the top, they were always arranging themselves in such a manner. Their politics was a tribal, ethnic-based, regional, so that they can have power. And they believe that to have power in independent Zimbabwe, you must be supported by your people. I don't know what they meant by their people. If you are a Mofu, then go for Mofus. If you are Soko, go for Sokos. If you are Ziva, go for Zivas. Do those clans make Zimbabwe? Do those clans make Zimbabwe? This is the problem that this country faced. So you see the remnants of these nationalist politicians, they practice exactly the same culture of ethnic, tribal, regional identity politics. Mugabe, when he started in 1980, there was a reasonably fair ethnic balance in his cabinet. These Ngwenas, the so-called Mnangagwa, the Garwe, he's a lizard, he's not a crocodile, he's a lizard. He is actually doing exactly playing the Mugabe template. There is no difference there. In the closing stages of the Mugabe's reign, there was a Zuluization project where you see the dominance of the Zulus in influential positions, including the government, diplomatic services, CSOs, state-controlled organizations. And as a result of that, it didn't go down well with others. When G40 was formed within Zanu PF, believe me, the truth was that it was more or less as a Zulu project pioneered by the youth within the ruling party. And this actually led to a reaction by others within the party, and they came up with their counterbalance, the Lacoste. The Lacoste was generally a Karanga. It was generally a Karanga in response to a Zulu outfit called G40. This is the politics. Now, you see, when you have identity politicians polarizing the nation on a tribal or ethnic line, they are a threat to national security. They should never be allowed to call the shots. They should leave. Now you have Emerson Mnangagwa. He is doing exactly the same thing. He is coming with a cabinet, a government in which 70% of the cabinet are members of his clan, or they come from Midlands and the Machine. You can count on your fingers how many Moyos are in cabinet, how many Moyos are permanent secretaries, the diplomatic corps. This is what we are saying. We want a country with a leadership which unites people. We want a government of national unity, not a government which is premised on the hegemony of the Gutu constituency 21, Ward 21, where you have more than 10 ministers in cabinet. Yes, we agree that they are intellectuals and professionals from any region which are evenly distributed. But you cannot have a situation in which we have a ministry. For instance, go for Minister of Agriculture. The Minister of Agriculture is from Gutu. The Deputy Secretary, the Deputy Minister is from Gutu. The Permanent Secretary is from Gutu. Pakaitika rufuka munovhara ministry. Pakaitika rufu munovhara ministry. We cannot have that kind of a setup. That's why we are saying, please, enough is enough. Let's have order. Our aim is not to destroy government, but we want to disrupt a corrupt status quo. We now do have a deep stage of a corrupt business class. It's a mafia business class and a political class which doesn't care for anyone, and they do everything with impunity. The country of Zimbabwe as a whole has now been reduced. It has been turned into a crime scene. Zimbabwe is now a crime scene. So how can we continue like that? So the thing is to call upon all Zimbabweans, irregardless of any political affiliation or persuasion, to come to the terms, come on board. This is for the good of your people, the good of future generations to come. Good. Mondorani mako ino imati imana. Inzwai kuchema kurkuita vei. Liberate. You are your own liberators. That's it.
Aiwa maisha. You are. Ataimba kumgagau. Ikujenizve. Zvichinzi mutero wedu hondo mbiri. Tero wembwa pachumi. Maiwe tero wawedzerwa mombe. Masheri mashanu. zvaimbwa nematateguru edu vari kuya kuchibharo varwadziwa nemapiki nemabhoshoro. Ndo yeimwe yemagirivhedzi atakaendera kuhondo. Zvino mutero uya wadzosa yainzi hati tax ikangoonekwa imba ine chin'aya kicheni anodiwa mutero. Ndo kuri kudzokerwa manje. Varungu vepanyakoramo vaizviitira izvi kuti vafainenze hurumende yavo nekuti yakanga isati yaane bhesi yekuti igokoreta mitero. Zvino zvadzokerwa manje nenyaya yekuti vapinda mufaniso mori kwanga kuchibva mitero hakusisina mitero. Saka vakuti handei kuvanhu ivava vari kundosvika zvinosedora kuti mutero musoro womunhu wega wega anofanira kuti atenge mutero achiendesa kunana sabhuku. Pachaita accounting system yakaita sei ipapo than kuarrange corruption at every level kuti ivo kana vakanga vakuita at a higher level vanobenefita with a higher dividend than yasabhuku anenge ari pasi pasi. Izvi mazimbabwe rambai mitero yechikolonial iya yari kudzoswa mazimbabwe pachenyu imi simuka Zimbabwe tinodawo nyika Zimbabwe tinoda kuzunguko Zimbabwe tinodawo nyika zvaranyohura zvida. Ndora takuda manje Zimbabwe simukai mazimbabwe rambai kubvira patubitero rambai zvokuimbozerwa maleaders munonzi tiri kuti demokrasi yazvino zvakuna maleaders kubva palowest rank vanoitwa wekuimboza ukatambisa magaro wakutopuhwa mubhadharo. Saka vasina magaro wokuwachii kana muchiti unova mari imini iri user for that matter mboti vakadzi endai munozviita dehumanize vonotambisa magadziko kuti muvafadze mobva mavapa US. Ko vasina muchavepei, ko chembere muchadzipei, ko aya mahiro aya ari mumatongo aya muchavapei zvavakamirira kuti muvadzose kumusha muchavadzosa rini? Muri kutoti zvakaenda zvakapera zvakadaro chavezvitisi tiri kurya heya morya ivava muchitsikana pamusoro pamatehenya avo varyai henyu asi muchajera kuti maakurya zvokupedzisira nokuti zvinoti akukumbira mhepo manje kuti ngadzichisimuka ngadziuye ngaisimuke mhepo yekuvhuvhuta iyo makomurezi kwamuri ikoko chiinspire tese tichidhimanda Zimbabwe yedu ngaichiuya manje nematateguru edu icho
right. Tinotenda mazimbabweans ari kumativi manese enyika, povho yedu, mawo veterans, vana muchibva vedu magara muchingonyeperwa muchinzi marwadzi enyu anouya, we are very sorry, but tinoziva kuti kana tapedza zvese zvatapedza izvi tichaona kuti taita sei nemu. Tinoziva isu tinoziva because tanga tiinemu, tinoziva role yamakaplaya, tinozivawo kuti role yakaplewa nepovho yedu mukusapota hondo. Chekupedzisira, let me warn you, imwi mune chipita account chakanzi blessed ara geza. Siyanai nazvo izvozvo. Ina handina Twitter account and handigoni kana kutwita kwacho. Saka ramuri imwi members of the security services were trying to build up a case against me. Zivai kuti intelligence yacho, I am far much ahead of you. And tichaitracer Twitter account iyoyo tizive kuti ndiani. Right? And pane kamwe kahama kangu kandinoziva kari kuita mischievous. Mpana will deal with you. Siyana nazvo izvi. siyana nazvo izvo zvompana kana uchinge une nhamo dzoka kumusha tikubetsere. Saka ndoda kutaura kuti Twitter account iyoyo haizi yangu, right? Yekuti tava nemari, tava nezvombo, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Isu simba redu riri muvanhu. Ukama hwedu nevanhu hwakafanana neukama hwefishi nemvura. Why I say so? Fish usati waibata inenge iri mumvura. Ukaibata fish, right? Wakuibika unoibika nemvura, right? Yaibva fish, wakuidya unotanga wageza mvura, right? Wapedza kudya fish iyoyo unomwa mvura. Wapedza kudya wakuenda kutoilet unobudisa fish iya nemvura. Saka ndo ukama hwedu isusu nepovu tiri pamwe chete. Povu yedu tine mwi ndapedza.